My name's Daisy. Well, not really Daisy, that's just for this podcast. But I'm not an actor. I am actually a young person with my own experiences of foster care, and I wanted to share something from my point of view. This week's podcast is sponsored by Fostering UK. I've been living with Fostering UK foster carers for several years, and now I'm 18, I've chosen to stay on with them because they're my family. I think people sometimes forget that young people notice a lot more than adults realise. We see what's happening around us, we know when our carers are supported, and we know when they're stressed or struggling. I've seen firsthand the difference it makes when foster carers are properly supported by the people around them. The support I've had, especially with my mental health, has made a huge difference, and I know that's because my carers have had the right support too. So if you're a foster carer who doesn't feel supported, or you're thinking about fostering and want to know you'll be treated properly and professionally, I'd say it's worth looking at Fostering UK. The details of where they cover and how to get in touch are in the show notes.
Hello and welcome back to Foster Care Uncovered, episode number 28. It's wonderful to have you here, my darling fellow foster carers and members of the sector, professionals and all. You're all welcome, and it's lovely to know that you're listening. Now, Sarah, it's been a lively week, hasn't it? We've got a new I know you're going to talk about this, but come on, let's get to it. First of all, let's have a brilliant quote.
Okay, let's have a brilliant quote. I would like to say as well, you've missed out something here.
Oh, what have I missed
Not
out?
that I like attention much or anything.
Oh,
but
yeah. Sorry. Can I just rewind that? You know that Sarah only ever wears black, and then for a period of time, her new black was green. Well, let me tell you, people, this will blow your visual mind. Sarah has not only got, a different necklace on. No, it just look. Yeah, she's wearing orange. Woohoo! I have never.
And why am I wearing orange?
Because, okay, let me start. Okay, I've done this all wrong. I didn't want it to be just about you, but let's turn it into about you. Right, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Okay, enough. Fabulous.
It's Sarah's birthday. She's 25.
I am again.
Look, very tan there, I might
I'm
say.
in orange.
Yeah, you're in orange. When you said, "Why am I wearing orange?" I was just thinking of Donald Trump. I thought, have you gone mad? Have you gone crazy?
Oh, well, obviously this podcast is going to be one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be one of them. That's it. Buckle up. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. And I echo everything Louise said about you and everyone, and about how wonderful I look in orange. And happy birthday to me. So, quote of the week. So we must remember this quote of the week throughout this podcast and not get too excited. But he said, this week it's a really good one, and the sound quality seems better too. The levels are more even. So I said, yeah, and that's because you and I, Louise, as we know, been getting very, very technical recently because we've understood that the levels aren't great. So we wanted to get really technical. We wanted to improve the sound. And so this is our new kind of technological advancement here. Me, stick your head near the computer. Louise is stuck up as far as I can. Me, I'm so loud, I'll move back. Anyone out there who wants any of our marvellous podcast advice, just ask. We've been talking about getting some proper kit, haven't we? But we only thought we'd do a couple of these and then nobody would listen. But now it's gone a bit mad. I think we might have to get some proper kit and advance ourselves technology.
That terrifies me. It really does. I quite like it that this is a bit sticky tape and plaster.
I know, but what happens is if people are driving along, you talk, then I butt in and I give everyone a shock.
I think that just goes anyway, Sarah. You just give people a shock.
But we will. Sarah Anderson shocking the care sector for a decade in more ways than one. Oh right.
Yeah, no, I mean it's incredible, isn't it? Because I mean, who would have thought 2 women, a laptop each? No, we don't share them because we live on opposing sides of the country. And now apparently opinions about pop filters. Yes, that's actually a technical term I checked. Well, actually, I asked the children who had to do a podcast for his course. We started this because no one else was saying the quiet part out loud. We say
Yeah.
the stuff that no one else wants to say, but we're all thinking. Not because we knew what phantom power was. Turns out you can develop technical standards and stay completely undiagnosed on the actual technology. I think that's safe to say. I have a freak out every time my mobile phone says updates. I'm like, oh no,
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna cry.
Don't, no more bloody updates.
Don't
You
give me an
change everything. I don't like change.
That's what it is, isn't it? It's like you're doing this far too often, telephone. Oh, it's not even a telephone, it's a mobile. Hello?
I need to move back. So I don't
Over,
talk
out,
everything.
over. That's
Oh,
what we're on. We're on plastic
heavens.
cups and string.
Yeah.
If
So
only
we
the
really, now
partner-
we've got to finish the video because we've gone on so long with our welcome banter.
All right, come on then. Crack
And
on.
right.
Get
Right, the
to it.
news.
Let's have the news.
Okay.
Sarah.
Excuse me. So the news this week. Right. So big political news this week, obviously. We have a new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, and a new Secretary of State for Education. So it's goodbye, Bridget Phillipson, and hello, Lucy Powell. Let's hope she's learned some lessons from the Phillipson. Oh, that I'll put my teeth back in. But I am old now, officially. The Phillipson PR disasters, like the Gemma
Oh, that'd be
Collins
good.
video.
Yeah.
So, interestingly, Burnham's, so Josh McAllister remains Children's Minister for now, it seems. Probably shouldn't come as a surprise because Josh was an early supporter of Burnham's leadership bid. But you know what? He clearly positions himself very well within the new political landscape as it shifts. He saw the writing on the wall for Starmer, didn't he? And he quickly changed allegiances. He was suddenly totally over Keir Starmer and all over Andy Burnham.
Yes. Yeah.
Wherever I lay my hats. So, interestingly, Burnham's political identity has often been built around challenging the Westminster bubble. And as we'll come to later in the news today, children's social care and that Westminster bubble have never been more closely aligned as under this minister. And he is so part of that Westminster bubble, is McAllister. He's a highly ambitious politician and often feels as though every move he makes is one eye on the bigger political future. Sorry. However, Burnham has built his political brand around devolving power, listening to people, and the communities beyond those usual circles. Well, children's social care is exactly where he has the opportunity to prove that is more than just a slogan, in my view. So one of the biggest criticisms from the front line is that too often this government or this minister listens to the same voices, same organisations, same established networks, while the people actually doing the work, foster carers and social workers, and those experiencing care have been left unheard. And nowhere was that more visible, was it, than in McAllister's review. So I think it's worth recognising that Burnham does have a track record of focusing on care leavers through his work in Greater Manchester. But perhaps this is where is our opportunity to help him understand that the work of supporting care leavers doesn't begin when they leave care. It begins much earlier through the relationship stability and support they experience while they're in care. Then you don't need to do so much when they leave care. And only that can happen if you've got a robust, herd-supported, included, equal, frontline workforce. There's, of course, I acknowledge there's currently a lot of talk from that ministerial position about relationships and stability and love. And it all sounds good and creates positive headlines, but they aren't shaped by listening to many foster carers and other frontline professionals or any care leavers, not really, who know what they need and what children need every day. It has never been around that, has it? It's that closed shop. It was that preset agenda before the review even started. So you can't talk about relationships while you're overlooking those people. And if you don't listen to the whole front line, you just risk creating reforms that look compassionate from the outside, but don't change children's lives in practice. And that's what they've come up with. These sort of little niche projects, the sort of, extraordinary, what they're calling reform. So question for Andy Burnham is simple. Will he genuinely widen that conversation? Or will children's social care just remain another small corner of government competing for attention in these huge political issues we've got these days? What do you think?
Oh, yeah. The question is whether the visibility is translating into better outcomes for the children, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or publicity for politicians. I mean, I have to make a confession that when I was 18, 19, me and my friend Jane, we were both art students. We heard that you can make a bit of cash if you manned the phones, womaned the phones for the Labour Party to phone people before election day. Do you remember those days?
Yes. Yeah.
Smoke-filled rooms above a chip shop in a side street in Portsmouth, and we used to phone up people going, "Can we have your vote for Labour this week?" They go, "Oh no, F off! Or you think you are blah blah blah," and that was my first and probably my last sort of instep into the political arena. I mean, I was a union rep for years at the university because I believe in justice. What I see before me is pantomime. It's a rearranging of the deck chairs. It feels like this is all theatre. I guess we can only tell the proof is in the pudding, and I think we know the answer to the question: is this all about visibility, Sarah? Because it feels to me like judging a firework display by how well it heats your house. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's so true. It's
yes,
just like, yes,
warming, no, you
Mm,
know.
mm.
I feel that this is a firework display coming out of our media devices in our homes. People don't talk about politics much outside their homes because we're terribly British and we don't want to really make too many offensive enemies unless you carry a flag. Um, and while Josh McAllister is being very busy and very visible, the rest of us are trying to keep children safe, foster carers and social workers and burning out. And I'm afraid none of that is very, very photogenic, is it? And doesn't photograph terribly well against marquees. So
No, and that's a direct segue into our next bit, isn't it?
yes,
Because I
I
think that
did try hard
Westminster,
this week. Thank you.
yes, it's very, very good. Well done,
Thank
you. 10 out of 10 for
you.
segues there.
Thank you. I
10
do
out
like
of
to
10.
segue.
And I'm got 10 out of 10 by not shouting so far.
Well done, you.
Let's see how we get on. I don't want to shock anybody while they're driving and make them drive over a crossroads or something. So that beautiful segue takes us into what we're going to look into this week and how it directly links to the whole Westminster bubble thing. I mean, there is such a pattern with launches, photo ops, media appearances, endless reforms that feel more like PR than real language.
Yeah.
And money goes to the mates, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Very disproportionately. So let's talk about the Spectator Summer Party. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I have to say that even I was surprised when I saw the Children's Minister Josh McAllister at the Spectator Summer Party. For those who don't know what the Spectator is, it's the oldest oldest, I'd say, political magazine for a generation, a kind of weekly meeting place for conservative, ultra uber conservative thinkers, commentators and Westminster insiders, celebrities. It represents the establishment wing of the right, culturally conservative, fiercely opinionated, and often more interested in the battle of ideas and Westminster politics than realities of life beyond that Westminster bubble. So to see the children's minister hobnobbing with the great and the not so good, likes of Richard Tice, Piers Morgan, Nigel Farage, Jeremy Clarkson, and others. I'm not sure he minds where he lays his hat, really. It's just a bit of a political opportunist, because I didn't sit right with me. Anyway, having said that, Louise, we're all only human, aren't we? And I don't even know. I don't know if I could have turned it down, because to turn down the opportunity to sample the smoked salmon blinis from the artisanal smokehouse Foreman and Field, washed down with King's, and then there was the King's Fine Food supplying the caviar, all washed down with free-flowing Pol Roger. That's that prestigious champers that was Churchill's favourite. And at 60 to 100 quid a bottle, it was on tap, including some very trendy Whispering Angel. That lovely Provence rosé from Chateau d'Escalin. That's £40 a pop at least.
You just described my daily lunch, darling.
And all our foster carers' lunch, all our foster children's lunch.
Yes, this is just
salmon Blinis and Pol Roger. Oh, one can only dream. I'm in the wrong job.
Yeah.
But, seriously, maybe that's the problem. When your world is Westminster receptions, summer parties, media appearances, endless photo opportunities, is it not hard to lose sight of the people you're supposed to be serving? It's not just about this one event. It's about what it says. See, while this sector, and that's all of you out there, every single one of you, the foster carers, the social workers, the managers, the directors, and all our care experienced people, while you're out there firefighting, and many of you end up homeless in the care sector, foster carers leaving in record numbers, social workers are overwhelmed. What else? Children in care, they're continuing to experience some of the worst outcomes in society. And our system is lurching from one bloody crisis to the next. Yet somehow the conversation in government keeps drifting back to glossy announcements, symbolic gestures, fancy pamphlets, the next press release, salmon blinis and Pol Roger. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Have these reforms completely missed the mark, and why they missed the mark? They just haven't got a clue. You can't fix problems you don't understand. And if you can't understand them, if you're spending more time in Westminster receptions and in front of cameras than in foster carers' living rooms, children's homes, or sitting down with care leavers trying to navigate adult life, and I don't mean the special PR curated versions of those, I mean real, authentic, quiet, behind the scenes, actually finding out from real carers, all the children, and all the care leavers. I don't know, out of breath. What do you think?
I just think, wouldn't mind some Blinis, have to go to a posh wedding for those these days. It's interesting, isn't it? Because if one thing Andy Burnham can do, I think if he can smash up the Westminster and scatter it about the country more and make it more even, I think that's a good idea, because children that around Westminster are not the only children that have needs. And I think the needs change. I mean, there are basic sort of patterns to needs, but needs change according to demographic as well, and to particular issues in particular parts of the country. So I think that's an exciting thing, to be honest. And do you know, Sarah, that a 60 quid, but what 60 quid buys a foster carer? So one bottle, let's say, because it's, you were talking about, I looked it up as well. So they could have those bottles of Pol Roger, the prestigious champers that was Churchill's favourite, at 60 quid a bottle, or up to, the 300 for the Churchill's. And of 60 quid, what would that buy a foster carer? It buys, about maybe a little bit, half a tank of petrol for the school run and a few emergency contact visits. And then what's left over, you could get a kind of half a takeaway if you boil your own rice and have it at home, and hope that they give you the free prawn crackers. But it won't get you a lot, will it? to make surviving another week is, 60 quid would be great, thank you. Another 60 quid a week would really, really help a lot of foster carers out. I'm nothing against anyone enjoying a party. I love parties. I do object to anyone mistaking it for an engagement with the sector. Caviar doesn't count as consultation, whatever King's Fine Food might tell you, and the fact that they seem to have lost the PR mind, where they are exposing this to us. They are exposing their wealth, their privilege, their frivolity to us, and we're all scratching around looking for pennies around the back of the sofa to buy new shoes or to do anything this summer with the children. I think it stinks of lost the plot. Them and us. It also makes me think cynically that they must be feeling so confident that they've got this, that this is going to be according to them and their story. And their story, as we go right back to the beginning, to episode 2 with Joe Hanley, is that network of chums, friends, and business associates that all benefit from, from us being the foster carers, being the gold bars, and the children being the commodities. There, I've said it. It's a system run by accountants, not by love.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely is. And Josh McAllister's built his whole career from the care review, on frontline, and then the care review and everything. He's built his career on hardworking frontline people, and that's what sustains him to be at these parties. He gets invited because of. I mean, I found it quite. I was a bit sick. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like him hobnobbing there. I just really thought it showed it all up. I think privilege is absolutely right. Privilege was the word there, and privilege they take for granted and think that everybody else should think's okay.
Which is the gap between them understanding reality and they're not, their lens is very caviar blurred, isn't it? Because we're looking at them thinking, how can you do that when children have so little? And the reason they have so little is that you and your chumlets have all creamed off the money through profits and are not having a go at private sector, because some private organizations are brilliant value for money and you can't argue with that. But come on, this is getting a little bit weird and perverse, isn't it? It feels like children are just sort of like the commodities,
Well, they're profiting in another way, aren't they? Yes, they profit financially, but they profit politically, and they profit sort of virtuously, and they profit, I'm sorry, but that smile doesn't fool me.
Or me.
We were talking about this before we came on, weren't we? Authenticity, and how you and I have an absolute radar for seeing through it stuff.
Yes.
Look, let's move on to the next item of news, because this sort of is exactly the same thing. So you'll see the theme, and that'll take us up to the break. Now, this has been in the news writ large, even though I probably only imagine that it affects like 2 or 3 people at the moment. It's the latest government scheme under their enduring relationships policy.
Enduring relationships.
Enduring relationships program.
Bad music.
I don't endure relationships. It's shocking, isn't it? So this is under the enduring relationships program. They've come up with lifelong guardianship ceremonies. So hold on to your hat with this one, Louise. That's all I can say. Those organising this, actually, they're faith organisations, which I personally am a little bit. I'm not sure that we should be mixing up faith and care quite like that, but that's only my opinion. I'm sure others will have others. I have never had a single child that had any religion whatsoever. My teenagers over 16 years, and I certainly wouldn't have. Anyway, the faith organisations are there all over it, but it's in fact a government initiative. So guess who was there centre stage again? Oh yes, our very own Mr. McAllister.
You would go to the opening
that man is everywhere. In simple terms, these lifelong guardianship ceremonies, what are they? They're voluntary ceremonies recognising the lifelong bond between a care experienced person and an adult that's been in their life. It's not a legal guardianship. There's nothing legal about it at all. It doesn't give anyone parental responsibility. It can't guarantee a relationship will last. It's largely symbolic, with many of the ceremonies expected to be delivered by faith organisations. Now, before anyone says I'm against lifelong relationships, I am not. Quite the opposite. They're one of the most important protective factors a young person can have. But that's exactly why this feels so odd. The strongest relationships don't need a certificate or a ceremony or a photo opportunity to prove they exist. My care leavers, Louise, would laugh at the idea of us needing a ceremony to validate what we already know. And meanwhile, thousands of care leavers are struggling with housing, mental health, poverty, isolation, foster cares leaving in record numbers, and the system is under such enormous pressure. So you have to ask whether this is another example of symbolism taking priority over substance. I mean, why is this centre stage and all over the news? Why? One of our previous guests, do you remember Rebecca Pierre came on? Wonderful episode. If anyone hasn't listened to that episode, please listen. She wrote a very thoughtful critique from her point of view as a care experienced person. And she raised some really important questions. What if someone doesn't take part? Does it create pressure or expectations that the relationship must forever? Could it leave others feeling rejected if they aren't chosen? Why are faith organisations so central with repeated references throughout the whole document to prayer? And where is the safeguarding oversight and accountability? Rebecca, grooming and all that, Rebecca also asked whether this risks becoming another feel-good PR exercise, creating headlines without doing anything to sustain those relationships once the camera's gone. Her conclusion is one that many will recognise. If we only value lifelong relationships, if we do value them rather, let's invest in things that actually help them survive. Proper staying put, secure housing, lifelong therapeutic support, giving people the resources, to stay connected. That's how you're building relationships, not with a ceremony. I personally cringed when I saw that because it's not authentic. And again, Josh McAllister was there, another photo opportunity. Look at me, I'm so marvellous. Look at what we've done now. But I think it makes a mockery of the whole thing. What do you think?
Well, I think two of my foster children are in the kitchen right now opening a box of cereal. I just wonder if they turn up for a photo op. Right. The funny thing is, right.
Josh, he'll be straight down. And now we have in Louise's kitchen a marvellous new policy called the opening the cereal box policy.
Yeah, and it would be a bit of an argument as well because I was meant to get a chocolate flavored one and I refused because I remembered I had to be sensible and I got honey instead. Right, the funny thing is that the relationships that actually last forever weren't built in a room with candles and a certificate. Gosh, this whole it blew my mind.
It's gone mad, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's blown my mind. They were built in kitchens like mine, like yours, in A&E waiting rooms where we spent an unprecedented amount of time on driving lessons and in 3 a.m. phone calls. Nobody was filming that, were they? No photo opportunities there. And I didn't get my teeth done either. So if the department generally wants to celebrate enduring relationships, it could start by not making them financially and practically impossible to sustain in the first place. A ceremony is cheap. Staying put support isn't. I wonder which one they'll actually fund. And I got a glimpse of an image of a man in cloth with the dog collar and whatever. I just thought it all looked very weird and a bit
yeah,
a bit freaky. What? That's what I thought.
And also, did you see the size of it? It was in Parliament, hundreds of people there. It was like, again, it was all that virtue signalling, and I don't think it revolves around the young person at all. It revolves around all these people kind of patting each other on the back and saying, look how good we're being. It just makes me a bit ick.
gives me the ick as well. And what's really interesting is that most kids couldn't give a hoot, could they?
No,
They don't even know who Josh McAllister is. It's only the likes of us. I'm sure a lot of foster carers don't give a hoot and don't care who McAllister
But
is.
what gets me is there's a lot of money being spent on it where it needs to go elsewhere. There's a lot of time, photography, media spent on it when we could be shining a light elsewhere.
It's deliberate. You know, this is covering up other stuff.
It's while you're looking here, you're not looking over there.
While they're looking at people in cloth and dog collars, basically having the ceremony for being friends still, maybe this week, maybe not until you fall out. There's serious stuff like trafficking, county lines, children go missing, you know, the ridiculous amount of unregulated and unregistered homes. You know, why aren't we focusing on that? Why are we spending so, well, not we, I've got nothing to do with it, but you know, come on, everybody, you gotta be very aware when they've got pictures going off like that, what are they not looking at?
Yeah, what are they hiding? And I think that's because also, you know, this is political, you know, fixing, and it's for me, so much as this about, and the whole thing from the care review onwards has been about Josh McAllister's political career
and his chums.
And his chums, yeah. So with that, shall we go to a break? And because we'll go to a break now, and when we get back, we're going to do Exploitation Part 2. So see you after the break.
Happy birthday!
Hi everybody, Sarah here. This is an advert for Foster Wiki. Now, every single day, carers are reaching out to us on a helpline, many experiencing difficult situations or issues, all of them and all of you carrying the enormous responsibility for children who've experienced trauma. Now, they contact us for lots of different reasons, but honestly, we can help with nearly everything. And the most important thing, of course, is we've walked 1,000 miles in your shoes. Foster Wiki was founded not as an organisation, a charity or a profit-making anything. It was founded by carers for carers because we knew what you needed. Our people are all experts in all the things they need to be experts in, apart from fostering, you know, safeguarding systems, legislation, etc. The whole 9 yards. So we keep carers caring. We work with you so that you can keep caring. Join today and experience the kind of support that you did not even know existed. Trust me. The link is in the show notes, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Thank you. Bye. Welcome back, everybody. And guess what? It's still my birthday.
In case you didn't know, everybody, it's Sarah's birthday today.
So, right, we've got 20 minutes on Exploitation Part 2. So these are the bits, this bit first, disposable status and power imbalance. I think here we're talking about the conditions that have been created to allow it. I'll just say what I think and then tell me what you think, Louise. Foster carers are described, aren't they, as the backbone of the care system. And without them, there would be not just no homes for children, there would be no foster care. But despite that importance, so many carers describe feeling that their position is incredibly fragile. And they're right to think that, because it is. When everything's working well, carers are valued and praised. But when the difficulties, particularly around allegations, complaints, professional disagreements, that relationship can change very, very quickly. The impact on the carers can be enormous. Their placement, income, reputation, family life can all be affected. And I mean within a couple of hours. We're not talking here 4 weeks notice. We're talking a couple of hours. Life can change in a flash. And that can be whether they always say it's children are complaining about harm. It's not. It's a social worker that makes the allegation, not the child. Often what they've heard and what they, so that we know this situation is manipulated. And that is why it leaves carers so vulnerable, because it can be used for anything and it's used for control. that climate of fear. How many carers speak out? None. And why? Because they know they can get an allegation very quickly and their life can change. That isn't the important thing to them. The important thing is that their children get taken away. So, and so many people have said they got into that situation before they even realized how vulnerable they were. And that to me is exploitation. So, you know, it creates a very difficult imbalance where carers can feel essential when they're needed, but disposable when situations become complicated. And that imbalance of power is something we have to examine when we talk about exploitation, because it's precisely this setup that create the conditions for exploitation. Now, working status, all the things we discovered, like we talked about last week, but this disposability and power imbalance and climate of fear, it's just the perfect recipe, as far as I'm concerned, for people to be exploited. What do you think, Louise?
Oh yeah, I think you've nailed it there, Sarah. For me, it feels like the classic pantomime villain switch. One minute you're the backbone of the system and being wheeled out to open foster care fortnight in your cardigan. The next you're being quietly managed out of a placement because you asked an inconvenient question. You build trust in a workforce you're prepared to discard the moment it becomes awkward. And you certainly can't call yourself essential and disposable in the same breath and accept anyone to stay. The thing is, folks, no one, I mean, absolutely no one can have it both ways. And that's the message we need to carry in our heads is they can't have it both ways. We're either essential or we're disposable. We can't be both. Come on, what are we? I think right now in the current climate, we're more than essential. So be nice to us, look after us, give us some workers' rights, look after us, make sure that, we're not put in situations which are so awful. And set foster carers up when they've asked a question and put them through hellish interrogations and allegations and destroy them. Why do you do that? And again, it's a bit like, I would say that the vicar's new clothing, the previous conversation about the ceremony to say you're still my friend, is you're still in my life, which it just beggars belief. And this is the same, while they're creating explosions over in one part, what they're not doing in the other part. And people who ask questions of local authorities are punished. People who dig their heels in and say no are punished. Now, as foster carers, our main role is to advocate for the child, and we have to advocate purely because it's so disorganized. And the money that the children are by law entitled to is being creamed off into other organizations. So we have to fight, and they don't like us fighting. But what are we meant to do? That's why I'm saying you can't have it both ways. And we have all these, the great and the good. We're another great and the good as foster carers. We are the good. And we're rather great. I think you can't have it both ways, darling. It's that simple.
No, you can't. And I think, that again, going back to the government and the stuff they're doing at the moment, they're on the one hand, oh, you hear it, don't you? Oh, foster care is the most valuable thing we've got. Oh, you're so marvelous. And they're absolutely wonderful. And foster care is the backbone of our care. And we want to take all the children out of residential and back into foster care. And we're going to have 10,000 more and you're going to be the most essential, blah, 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 blah. Then on the other hand, you have the government, led now by McAllister, they're trying to sabotage the workers' rights court case. It's going through court, has been going through court for 5 years, just to give us the most basic rights that go with our role. We're not asking for a new status. We're just asking for the status we've got to be correctly classified, because and give us the very basic rights. Why on earth do they expect that they can have the privilege of every right under the sun and won't even give us the most basic I don't call that valuing carers. What's more, they're actively trying to sabotage the case. They're trying to cost the union an absolute fortune so that they run out of money and can't contest it to Supreme Court. And then you get McAllister going on television and saying, oh, you don't do a job. You're not, it's not work. And valuing us in 4 words.
Yeah.
That does not, to me, smack of any kind of value or whatever. What they won't give us, which is really should be the right of any human being, is any kind of security.
Because if we have any of those rights, we no longer are the gold bars. We're gold bars with opinions. You see, at the moment, we're gold bars and children are the commodities. As gold bars, we make everyone else a huge amount of money. But you see, if we start having our own rights, we cease to make them a load of money. And God forbid, we might even start opening up our own agencies.
Funny you should say that, isn't it?
Very funny you should say that.
Very funny you should say that. Anyway, yeah, I absolutely agree. And also, but it's happening. It is happening. And I encourage every carer to start speaking out. Hold your corner. If I know I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but join Foster Wiki, not because we didn't form Foster Wiki to be an organization to make money out of carers. We formed it because we are carers and we knew what we weren't getting elsewhere. But what we do is help you stand your corner. Be safe while you're standing your corner. We take over and say, no, I'm sorry, this is the tail wagging the dog. I'd like you to stop doing that. I'd like to be more in charge here because actually without me you don't have your jobs. All right, does that sound a little bit activisty? Not really. Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like me trying to empower a workforce that should already be empowered.
Absolutely. Here.
So the next one, the final one we're going to talk about is, the middle one is the hidden cost nobody counts.
Yeah.
And I think you wanted to talk about that, didn't you?
I did a little bit on this, yeah, because hidden, not so bloody. Right. There are also the costs within fostering that have become almost invisible because they are seen as simply part of our role. The petrol, the mileage, the wear and tear on vehicles, damage in the home, additional household costs. But there are also the less visible costs, the impact on family life, the loss of privacy, the emotional pressure, and the constant responsibility of caring for children with complex needs. Because let's unpack that a bit. How do you tier children into a tier system? How do you know what needs they have until you are living with them? So when they banned foster carers pay, now I as you know, I'm with Fostering UK and we get good allowances. Trust me, it's worth it. But if you are in a local authority, you can be going to meetings and you'll be a foster carer plus, or you'll be just a foster carer. But you might end up having the child that the foster carer plus couldn't look after because no one else is available. So just as a foster carer, you might be looking after a child who has got complex additional needs on far less money. So I never understand this banding system for foster carers, and it must be another form of power and control. Because there was a famous incident in Devon, wasn't there, Sarah, a few years ago, where they said that they're going to correct the two-tier system, and they removed foster care plus, and they made everybody on a lower band.
Well, they just went down to the lowest common denominator. That's the problem with that. Could I kick back a little bit there with the tiers? I do agree with the tiers in the sense that I think, but if they're used properly, and if you don't use the level 2 carers to give them the most difficult ones because nobody else is available. It only works if you're actually sticking to the plan. But I do think there are some carers that want to have a higher education, probably engage in a lot more things, and will take teenagers, for instance. And then there are carers who don't really want to do that level of education. They're quite happy doing maybe a permanency with some children. I mean, and then also, why should an experienced foster care for 20 years be paid, a brand new one walking in be paid the same. So I think that's a complex issue, the tiers. But I think what you nailed there was when there's nobody else available, they give the really difficult children to the ones that don't have the training or want the really difficult ones, and then pretend that they haven't got their information handy.
Yeah, and that they must do a little bit more training.
But
And
it is complicated.
It's really complicated. And I think it's complicated because we don't have worker status. Because if we had worker status, you would get, obviously, like in any other role, you'd get incremental pay rises for full recognition. You would have the support to do that, and you would have a trajectory, and you'd be working through
not
that.
a postcode lottery.
Not a postcode lottery. So the tier system is a bit, I think it's an abused system. I think hypothetically it's a good idea, but it doesn't work if you don't have worker status. So like with any other job, you can choose how ambitious you want to be, and you can choose how far up your trajectory you want to go. And you do that with support, and you do that through planning, and you do that sensibly. Whereas in foster care, everything is a crisis. And because it's a crisis, children land at your door with a string of not quite truths. And those not quite truths.
And that's exploitative.
Totally exploitative. That's why it's huddled up here in the exploitation section, because it is exploited. If you feel exploited, let's bring this back. Because as foster carers, when we are working, we don't have a staff canteen, do we? We can go and go, oh, I really feel exploited. It's not fair. We don't. We're measuring ourselves against the person next to us, which is either a partner, or we might be doing this alone. So to say that you feel exploited out loud after everything that you've been through to get
it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous, and also demoralizing yourself, because if you feel exploited, it's a very complicated feeling to sit with. The feeling of being exploited isn't a sudden feeling, it's a gradual realization. And by the time you've realized you're being exploited, other things have happened. So by the time you realize you're being exploited with a sibling group of 4 or 5, you might be thinking, but now if
I'm in love with the children now.
What's going to happen?
Where can I go? What can I do?
So that's a double layer of exploitation.
Yeah, they said that. Someone said that on Facebook.
Exploitation. So I don't think as foster carers you can wriggle very far in your role without exploitation. And then when you got people like Mr. McAllister saying, "Oh, it's not a job," I have no words that I can say on here that will support that, because they're all too rude. The thing is that we work damn hard, and that's exploitative. We're not allowed to say anything. That's exploitative. We're spending our own money. That's exploitative.
We live in a culture of fear.
We live in a culture of fear. That's exploitative. The fact is we're not allowed to design our own work schedule. I am meant to be self-employed, so why can't I go and work wherever I want and charge my own rates? Why can't I be competitive and market my services? Because I can't, because that's exploitative. You own me, but you don't own me because you won't give me any workers, right? It's not only exploitative, it's absolutely bonkers. And they want to keep it just as it is because we are the gold bars. And if we're kept low, kept beaten, kept exploited, we make them money. When we start having an opinion, and this is their big fear, when we start talking, and you can tell, Sarah, how many people have become very upset in certain places that we started this podcast, because we're informing people about what's going on. Yes, I'm never going to get an OBE. Yes, I'm never going to go to Westminster. I'm never going to be invited into Parliament to talk to MPs because of my opinions. And my opinions are firmly based in the care of children, because to look after children well, your foster carers must be in good emotional and physical health. To do that, they cannot be exploited or feel exploited.
No, because what's happening is happening. They're all just leaving.
Yeah.
I can't reveal it now, but I came across some very, very interesting information this week. I can't even say what it's about with it, but it just, boggled my mind over how right we have been over these things. So, Yeah, I mean, we were going to talk about fear, control, and silence, but I think we've wrapped that into it, and don't forget, fear doesn't necessarily have to be intentional to have an impact. A culture can develop where people become cautious about challenging decisions or speaking openly because they worry about the consequences, and that's exactly where we are. So for foster carers, the fear of allegations, losing placements, damaging their reputation, that's another huge thing. Damaging their DBS. It creates the environment where they do not feel safe to challenge the system around them, to challenge the people they work for, to even have a voice. That's exploitation. And that matters because I tell you why, lastly, for me, children need foster carers, from my point of view, who feel confident enough to advocate for them. A healthy system needs people who can speak honestly, raise concerns, and challenge when things are not quite right. But that's the point, isn't it? We don't have a healthy system. Far from it. We have a workforce ripe for exploitation by the way it's been set up.
Absolutely. If they genuinely care about the children, you would genuinely care about your foster carers. And while there are shareholders, you need lots more children coming in. Because I always say, where is the prevention? Why isn't the money going into prevention? Why aren't we helping families stay together? I would love that. I would love families to
You
stay.
know why we're not? We've got that theory, haven't we? Because people make much more money out of it going wrong.
Yeah, mop
I
up.
know people go, oh, no, surely not. Conspiracy theories, but it really
No, it's
isn't.
absolutely true. And because, a lot of families have just struggled.
Charities make money out of it, and kudos, and
Yeah,
don't
sure.
think they're immune. Those big charities, all designed to take advantage of the fact that it all goes wrong. Well, they won't have a place anymore if we fix it.
And that's just it. So, the intergenerational trauma. And don't forget, in education now at schools, we don't teach anything about parenting or how to look after a home. It's no longer seen as part of the work that we need to know about. But a lot of families struggle because they don't know how to budget, how to look after a home, why aren't we helping them? Why aren't we helping them? Give them pride, give them confidence, and then they can look after their own children. And no one is perfect.
Yeah.
No one is perfect. And I'm afraid that the children and the foster carers are a huge income stream for a lot of people who have nothing to do with the children or the foster carers. And keeping us quiet is what they want. And it's just not working.
And I think that, that really wraps up our bit on exploitation, because I don't think that's too harsh a word to abused at all.
No. And another part of today with no exploitation whatsoever is Sarah is wearing a colour which is so wonderful, and it is her birthday. She just lifted that's hilarious. It looked like you'd been caught by a bat. And to all our foster carers,
Yeah.
in a minute, we really do care about you because we
do.
are foster carers,
We
and
are you.
we've seen what's been going on, and a lot of you just know it, and you couldn't say it out loud, so we'll say it for you. But as you always do, continue sending us your thoughts. We
Please do.
value them.
I like the fact that, we can bring you the real truth about the sector you work in, because so many carers are kept isolated on purpose, so they don't speak to each other. They certainly don't speak to people in neighbouring local authorities. Unfortunately for the powers that be, the social media has changed everything. It's changed everything in the world. So we are now getting much, much more powerful, and we are becoming a bigger voice, and the takeover has begun. Oh, I'll end on that. So goodbye from me. Have a wonderful week. Don't forget to share this podcast so that we can share this far and wide. And we look forward to seeing you next week, or speaking to you
Bye-bye,
next week.
everyone.
Yeah.
Love you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.